Welcome to the channel, everybody. I got a good video in store for you guys today. We're gonna be talking about a bait that doesn't get talked about a lot, but one that will catch you a lot more fish. And we're gonna be talking about my two favorite ways to rig this bait. We're gonna be talking about the Sense Juggle Minnow. It's a little 4-inch bait, but it does a lot. And we're gonna be talking about how to fish it on a ChatterBait, and then also how to fish it fly lined, similar to a fluke style bait, but I got a little bit of a twist, so make sure to stay tuned for that, because that one will for sure catch you a lot more fish. For anybody new, my name is Matt Loon. I make a lot of tackle making videos, how-to videos, and on the water fishing videos. So if that sounds like content you want to watch, make sure to click that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and if you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up as well. Before we get into talking about the ChatterBait and why I like this juggle minnow on the back of a ChatterBait, I just want to give you a little overview on the bait itself. The juggle minnow comes in a 9-pack. Like I said a minute ago, it is a 4-inch bait. And then here is the actual style of this bait. This bait is fluke style bait. It's got a nice little tail, has a lot of action, and the action in this bait is very, very subtle down underneath the water. And as always with 6 cents baits, they got a lot of different awesome color combinations. This one that we're talking about right now is Ghost Minnow. They have a bunch of other color combinations as well. They're gonna suit up perfectly for your bluegill situations. No matter what the situation calls for, they have a color that's perfect for what you're doing. Now we're gonna move into talking about the juggle minnow on the back of a ChatterBait. The reason why I like to pair up this thunder cricket with a juggle minnow is because the juggle minnow just allows for so much action out of the ChatterBait. Everybody always talks about wanting that hunting action out of your ChatterBait, and what that hunting action is that irregular darting motion that you either impart with extra rod twitches or reel turns, or sometimes just adding on a trailer like the juggle minnow. It'll automatically do that. It'll be running true, and then all of a sudden it darts out one way and then it darts out the other way, and those are things that you just can't create on your own. And a lot of times the trailer itself is what imparts that action or allows that action to occur, and the juggle minnow is just perfect for that. Now when you have a ChatterBait paired up with the juggle minnow, the faster you start to reel it, the more hunting and irregularities you're going to get with this bait. Now, if you slow it down, you're still going to get a lot of tail movement right here with the juggle minnow. It's going to just kick back and forth, be very, very subtle, instead of some of those larger trailers that we put on the back of the ChatterBaits that always give a lot of action. Sometimes the fish don't want that much. Sometimes they're seeing so many of these ChatterBaits, they need something a little bit more subtle to get them to bite, because they've seen all those bulky, bigger trailers already. So downsizing it and getting a little bit less action, a little bit less vibration can get them to commit. Another feature that this juggle minnow really allows the ChatterBait to do is hunt much more sharply. Now, when you impart those reel turns and when you impart that rod action, you're gonna get every little bit you can out of this ChatterBait. When you have a bulkier trailer on the back of your ChatterBait, you're gonna get a little bit more subtle of a hunting action because there's more drag. Now, when you have this smaller pintail kind of an action out of this juggle minnow, it's gonna dart very, very sharply. And sometimes that's what you want. Sometimes that's what you need to really trigger that bite. When you have a fish trying to get away from a bass, it's not gonna subtly turn. It's gonna turn sharply. It's trying to get away. It's trying to not get eaten. So you're trying to imitate that with this ChatterBait, and having this type of a trailer, this juggle minnow, is gonna impart that sharp action that you're looking for. And when it comes down to color combination, you basically just want to match your ChatterBait. So this Ghost Minnow color matches up perfectly with this Thunder Cricket. And then again, in some of the clips that you've been seeing me catch some of these ChatterBait fish, I was imitating bluegill. So I had a green pumpkin juggle minnow on the back of a jackhammer. This is the Strike King Thunder Cricket. Some of the footage that you're watching is me fishing the jackhammer. That jackhammer, I think it's Brett's bluegill, it has a little chartreuse on there, and that green pumpkin juggle minnow just pairs up perfectly to imitate that bluegill. Sometimes you can take a little chartreuse pen and get that tail a little bit of chartreuse, because that bluegill has that chartreuse tail, and a lot of times when they're getting chased by the bass, they're getting nervous, they don't want to get eaten, and sometimes that chartreuse tail kind of brightens up when they're being, hunted and attacked by one of those bass. No matter the color ChatterBait you're trying to throw, you're going to be able to find a juggle minnow that's going to pair up perfectly with it. Even on those fire craw colors, guys. A lot of people are throwing fire craw color ChatterBaits early in the spring. Try pairing it up with a green pumpkin trailer. I was out at the Delta, and they eat red really, really good up at the Delta, and I was actually throwing the juggle minnow paired up on a spinnerbait. There's a red spinnerbait with a green pumpkin trailer, and I was catching some pretty good fish doing that. So don't hesitate to throw that green pumpkin juggle minnow on the back of that fire craw ChatterBait. We're about to get into talking about the second way that I love to fish the 6 cents juggle minnow, but before we do that, I want to talk to you guys about Waterland Fishing Optics. Waterland is my sunglasses sponsor, and they make awesome apparel just like the shirt that I'm wearing right now. They got a bunch of different frame options, a bunch of different lens colors. They got the brand new morning runs, so that way when you're going out in the water, it's a little bit too dark for those sunglasses. They got a clear pair that's going to keep the bugs out of your eyes, the water out of your eyes, that wind out of your eyes, and you'll be able to go 70 miles an hour down lake with no issues. So head over to the waterlandco.com website. That's the Waterland Fishing Optics website. Use my discount code Luna15. It's going to save you 15% off. Check out the sunglasses, check out the apparel, get you what you need, and make sure to use that discount code Luna15. I also have a product list of everything I'm talking about down in the description of today's video, along with affiliate links and discount codes. If you guys decide to pick up any of the items that we're talking about in today's video, please go through those links and please use those discount codes. Helps me out, helps you out, helps the channel out. This next method of fishing the 6-inch juggle minnow is great for those high pressure situations when those bass are feeding on small bait, like they probably are in a lot of places right now, especially as we get closer to the fall. A lot of times they're feeding on that super small bait, and hardly anything can get those bass to bite your lure. They're feeding, they're actively feeding, sometimes they're schooling, and you just can't figure out a way to catch fish. This method will catch fish all over the country during those schooling situations. A lot of people are trying to throw those hard baits, those topwater baits, those walking baits, and sometimes the bass just will not eat those. Sometimes you got to get something a little bit more natural, a little bit more finessey, and that's what we're talking about right now. So what I'm doing in these situations is I'm taking a straight shank hook along with my juggle minnow, and I'm going to be fishing it on a spinning rod. I'm going to be using 6 to 8 pound tests. Guys, this is a finesse technique. This isn't something that you're going to be horsing those fish in. You're going to need your spinning rod, your spinning reel, light line, all of that kind of stuff to trigger these fish to bite. When you're rigging this up, you take your straight shank hook like this, and again, I'll link this down in the description, and you're just going to thread this through your juggle minnow, and you want this hook to be exposed outside of the juggle minnow, and you just slide everything up to the top, and you want it to look like this. What's interesting about fishing this bait in this manner is that this hook's going to keel the bait, so it ends up running upside down if you're not fishing it fast enough. When you're fishing it like you're supposed to, which is fishing it like a jerkbait, whether it's a soft plastic jerkbait, hard jerkbait, doesn't really matter. You're just imparting the action with your rod tip. You're just going to be casting it out, really softly jerking it back to the boat. A lot of times you're going to be fishing it through schooling fish, and these fish just can't resist it. It's too natural. It looks too similar to what they're actually feeding on. And with these awesome color schemes, these fish will absolutely destroy this bait. Some of the areas I really like to fish this specific setup is with schooling fish and over the top of grass, over the top of brush. Anytime you have something that's just underneath the surface. A lot of times those fish are chasing bait out in open water, and this thing is perfect for that. You can surprisingly cast this pretty far as it's rigged up. I like a 4/0 hook in there, so it's a bigger, a little bit heavier hook. This bait isn't super heavy, but when you pair it up, you know, with that braid Deflora leader, you're going to be able to cast this plenty far to catch some of those breaking fish that are breaking a little bit distance away from the boat. I also like to fish this over the tops of grass and over the tops of shallow brush. This thing doesn't sink super fast, so if you work it over the top of that stuff, those fish come out of that cover and they're able to eat this bait. Now, if you're fishing it around, you know, hydrilla or something like that, where it's super thick grass, maybe that spinning setup's not going to be ideal, so there might be a little bit better of a bait that you could be fishing to be a little bit more efficient and get some of those fish out of that cover. But depending on, you know, that sparser cover where you need something more finesse, this thing will excel and it will get you some bites that other baits won't. Another rigging option that you can do around some of those sparse cover situations that I just talked about is taking a wide gap hook, like the 6-cent stout wide gap hook, and that way you can have a weedless presentation, and then you can fish it a little bit more in the cover without having to worry about that exposed hook hanging you up. Don't forget about the affiliate link, the product list that I have down in the description of today's video, and those discount codes that are going to save you guys some money. This 6-inch juggle minnow will get bit, and you can fish it in a variety of different ways. These are just 2 of my favorite ways to fish it. You can fish it on a drop shot, you can fish it on a buzzbait, you can fish it on a spinnerbait, but these 2 ways that I talk about in today's video are 2 of my favorites. So if you want to see me catch fish on the 6-inch juggle minnow, make sure to click on the video that's on the screen right now, and I'll see you guys in the next video. See ya!